Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Bjorn, and thank you for the 200 plus subscribers. It's kind of crazy. Recently, I was asked in the comments to make a necromantic gunslinger type build, which I thought was very cool, and I was like, why haven't I thought of this before? And then I realized probably why they were asking. A lot of these subtypes involving the necromancer is on melee hit. Anything to deal with, like, say, paladins and their smite. You can go down Oath of Conquest and maybe convince the DM to, instead of rating damage as necrotic, that's on melee hit. Death Domain Cleric, their Channel Divinity, Touch of Death, that is on melee hit. The Circle of Spores Druid, their 1d6 poison damage with their shift, melee hit. It's very limiting. I don't really see why it's limited to just melee hits. Maybe it's like a risk versus reward kind of thing. Maybe that's part of this playstyle. That's the Wizards of the Coast was coming up with. I don't know. I don't really like how limiting it is. So consider speaking with your Dungeon Master about these on melee hits abilities. These two builds that I have today are going to focus more on like classes that exist either through Map Mercer with the Blood Hunter and the Gunslinger, and how to amplify your damage with necrotic damage in that way. But there are other options out there through the Druid, through the Paladin, through etc. But you have to speak with your Dungeon Master, see if you can't house rule it, so that these on melee hits would also apply on a ranged hit. So personally, I would be fine with that, and I think most reasonable Dungeon Masters would be fine with it. I don't see there being a unique, overwhelming power to it, but there might be. So have a conversation with your Dungeon Master, see what you can come up with. And I was saying, I have two builds today. This build here that we see is very basic. I don't like this, I would not recommend it, and I'm going to go into why it's bad. We're going to go into the School of Necromancy Wizard build level 14, and a Gunslinger Fighter level 6. The reason why we're bumping up to 14 is because this build is focused on raising that army and gunslinging on the side. 14 gives us Control Undead and Finger of Death. We can build up an army very, very effectively with that over time. And, yeah, the Gunslinger 6 gives us just abilities to fire our weapon, and a little bit of utility. It's not bad, but it's not exactly what I think this person was looking for. It's very limiting because our cantrips are going to do more damage than our gun in the end. So, it's not really the greatest. Over here, we have a build that's more focused on raising a handful of undead, and as well as amplifying our pistol's damage. We end up with the Order of Ghostslayer Blood Hunter 11, Death Domain Cleric 6. We're not going with it for necessarily the Channel Divinity option. We're mostly going with it for we can raise dead, and then maybe we can talk to our DM and see if we can't apply that to a ranged hit. Our Gunslinger Fighter level 3, this is just so we can gunsling, and before we get too far into that, the race of choice, if you're going to be going with this build, there's the Fallen Aasimar. They're fantastic. This is going to give us Necrotic Shroud. This is necromantic damage that we can do on a hit, on a weapon damage hit. It's fan-freaking-tastic. It scales with our level. This is going to add into the necromantic gunslinger type pretty easily. I don't believe that this is on melee hit. It's not restricted. It's just, yeah, so for 1 minute as a bonus action during each of your turns, you can deal extra necrotic damage to one target when you deal damage to it with an attack or a spell. So just an attack or a spell. That doesn't specify melee. So yeah, this is fantastic. This is the one way that you'll be able to apply extra necrotic damage for sure onto whatever. The other race of choice I'd recommend looking into would be the, what is it called? The Wood Elf. The Wood Elf gives +2 to Dexterity and 1 to Wisdom. Those are going to be your main stats, and as well, the Wood Elf gives us access to Elven Accuracy. We will be able to gain advantage through our Deadeye Shot with our Gunslinger archetype and our Trick Shots, so we'll be able to gain super advantage for, certain amounts of times. Very nice, very awesome, but yeah, let's go ahead and get into this build. Blood Hunter, for the multi-classing by the way, is a Strength or Dexterity of 13, plus a Wisdom of 13, which works out pretty well for this build because the Fighter is a Strength or Dexterity of 13, and then the Cleric is a Wisdom of 13. It overlaps perfectly, the multi-classing is not crazy for this, easy enough. The reason why I start off with the Blood Hunter, I feel like this is the closest to a class identity that you can come with. I mean, you could definitely start off with the Cleric, or definitely start off with the Fighter. I love the Blood Hunter. This is a fantastic class. If you ever just feel like playing a very, very fun, interesting class with a bit of a risk-reward management, I would recommend playing this one. We gain a lot of different tracking abilities, and you know, we also gain what's it called? This over here. This allows us to examine an item and essentially figure out how its dark connection to whatever type of magic, or gives us some lore information. It's pretty nice. There's a lot of roleplay here. The main reason why we want 11 is for the Supernatural Surge ability. This essentially makes it so that we can attack 3 times in a combat round, based off on, we can do this a number of times equal to our Wisdom modifier. So we still want a high Dex and high Wisdom for this build. If you don't roll well, I would consider going ahead and taking Fighter 11 instead, and then Blood Hunter 3, because Fighter 11, you're still going to gain 3 attacks all the time, but Supernatural Surge, the other cool thing of this is that you turn into like a wraith or a ghost, and I think that's a very fun and cool twist to this Necromancer. Instead of the Necromancer just purely raising the dead, we're also like adopting some of their like the things that they would control and applying it to ourselves, and that's such a beautiful and cool visual. And yeah, so Supernatural Surge is amazing. Of course, the other main thing that we gain with this is we do gain Crimson Rights. At first level, take Right of the Flame. There are an insane amount of things that need to die by fire damage in this game, and this will make sure that happens. Take whatever ones you want afterwards. For fighting styles, for your Blood Hunter, assuming you're raising that up, you take Archery first. It's going to help you the most. And then once you go into the Fighter, go ahead and take plus Defense, plus 1 AC. I mean, it's fantastic. It's going to help you stay alive longer. As for our Blood Maledicts, our Blood Curses, I recommend taking Curse of the Marked, Curse of Binding, and Curse of the Eyeless. This is all going to benefit us through our Curse of Marked. This is going to amplify damage that we're dealing. Curse of Binding, we're going to be able to stay away. You know, I think it's restrained, so it should. Yeah, so it should give advantage on hits if they're restrained, but I'm not going to read that all right now. But anyways, Curse of the Eyeless, you know, these are just things to help you stay alive longer and to not worry about so many horrible things coming your way. So those are the Blood Curses. Now, at 3rd level, we do gain an Exotic Rite. We gain this Rite of the Dawn. This does radiant damage. There is another Exotic Rite that does necrotic damage. I would, again, speak to your Dungeon Master, see if you can't just take that instead of this. Personally, I don't see that as being bad, because I think Rite of the Dawn is personally way more powerful than necrotic damage. A lot of campaigns involve you dealing with undead in some shape or form, and giving up that radiant damage can hurt a bit. But if you're looking for more of the thematic feel with the necrotic damage, you know, why not? There's things that are weak to necrotic damage too, but you know, this is just the roleplay. This is the class feel. This is the only real homebrew I would really recommend talking to your Dungeon Master about. The other ones don't matter so much. It's not a homebrew, it's a house rule, pardon me. Otherwise, there's not much more to say about this class. We obviously gain our extra attack. Hallowed Veins is fantastic. This is another reason why we want Ghost Slayers, because then our blood curses are actually going to still work on most things. So yeah, the Ghost Slayer, Blood Hunter, fantastic. Death Domain Cleric, I mentioned we're going with this so that we can raise dead. With the Death Domain Cleric, we just automatically gain the Animate Dead ability. With this, I believe we have 3 3rd level spells, so that means that we're going to be able to raise at least 3 minions and have them with us at all times. Pretty cool. However, again, we do have for our Channel Divinity Touch of Death with a melee attack an issue. Speak with your Dungeon Master, see if they won't just change it. If not, if this sucks so hard for you and it's just a melee thing, I suggest maybe looking at the Grave Domain Cleric, as it gives you the Path to the Grave Channel Divinity. That one is going to amplify all damage by, like, it just doubles damage. It's fantastic, it's useful. It's even useful for you because with the Fighter, you're going to be able to apply that, then Action Surge, Deadeye Shot, gain advantage, possibly super advantage if you're an elf, and possibly crit with a lot of necrotic damage, necrotic shroud. There's a lot of damage potential with a burst with your gun in that case. Personally, though, I love the Death Domain Cleric. It fits a bit more, I feel, but you know, whatever. The other thing that we do gain is Inescapable Destruction. This allows your Cleric spells to ignore resistances when it's necrotic damage. You could ask more Helm rules, but see if this can apply to other classes. This is one that I'm sometimes a bit more hesitant to give to players because it is very powerful, but it is investing 6 levels into Cleric, so I mean, it's kind of a tricky thing. But you know, if we could just ignore the resistance of necrotic damage, like all of a sudden our right damage does full damage all the time, you know, it's pretty fantastic. But yeah, so Death Domain Cleric, awesome. We're going to be able to still raise a couple of dead. The Gunslinger Fighter here, fighting style again, go with defense, +1 to AC. Second, when action surge, we gain the firearm proficiency with our choosing of the archetype. For your trick shots, Deadeye and Dazing Shot, absolutely fantastic, and I think baseline, giving yourself advantage. It's great. It's very hard for this class to go ahead and just gain a ranged advantage. Unlike the Rogue, where you can bonus action hide, and then gain advantage through stealth if you pass, if you succeeded in being hidden. This is the only real way, unless there's another person there, maybe a fighter battle master giving advantage on the next hit. That's the only other way. Dazing Shot, very useful. Disadvantage on attacks until their next turn. That's very, very powerful. But yeah, this class does kind of remind me of one character from The Walking Dead. She has her brothers like on a leash at the beginning, and like she took out their jaw and their teeth, and apparently they're neutral or whatever. I forget her name. I'm terrible with names, unfortunately. And yeah, it's very badass. Except with this, you don't need to take out their teeth or their jaws, and they're still violent as hell and gonna eat people for you. But yeah, I really like this build. It's very cool. It requires some house ruling still, but it is what it is. It's unfortunate that there's so many little restrictions with melee damage versus ranged damage. I wish it was different. I think that's mostly there with melee damage to encourage like the Death Knight type of playstyle. You know, but talk for DM, reason with them, see if you can't do something akin to this. It's a new take on a necromancer. It's very, very fun, I think. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope that this inspired you. If there's anything I've missed, like if there's like some sort of class that, hey, this works with whatever, with the necromancer. I don't have the artificer at the moment as an example. It might be something there. I can't afford that right now. But you know, there might be something I'm missing, and I kind of hope I am. If there is, please let me know in the comments. If you have another class idea or something that you've been wanting to play, but you're having a hard time with multi-classing, put that in the comments too. I love helping people out. It's fantastic. Yeah. Have a good one. Bye-bye.